But we're going to move on for a moment to the NBA. And as we said at the top of the show, this weekend, Sunday to be exact, we lost not only a great basketball player, and he certainly was that, the greatest winner in American sports history, period. Especially when you look at the three major sports, Bill Russell winning 11 championships in 13 years, Rob. It's unbelievable. So, and for those that want to say, oh, he did it against plumbers and butchers, he did it against Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson. All right? So the greatest winner, no one and literally no one in football or baseball or basketball has ever won as many championships as Bill Russell. And then the fact that he did it in 13 years is just incredible. So, Rob, I told you they turned on the NBA TV and they were playing a Bill Russell game, which was really a great thrill to see that in 1963. But I know you wrote a great column today on Deadspin.com. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, you know, Chris, I wanted to dig in a little bit, and I didn't want Boston to get off the hook. I mean, there was so many beautiful things written and said about Bill Russell, Chris, but it wasn't paradise for Bill Russell when he was a great player there. And you just said it. Nobody won more.
Right.
And it was bad. And we get it, the time and the temperature of the country, but it was bad for Bill Russell. And he even said, Chris, a quote, it was like that Boston was a flea market of racism. That's a quote from Bill Russell from his own book. And the things that went on there were mind-boggling, to be honest, and his house was vandalized. They defecated on his bed and in his house. In a store. That's
incredible.
That is. Somebody who could be that sick.
You talk about disgusting.
Right.
Yeah,
who could be that sick, Chris?
You're sick in the head.
Right, to do that. And his daughter wrote about it in a New York Times piece in 1987. She chronicled what happened and what went on. And I thought to myself, Chris, can you imagine if Bill Russell just could have played and didn't have to carry that burden and carry that angst and all the other stuff that comes with it? I don't think people understand what it would be like for him or Jackie Robinson just to play. Just go out like everybody else and just play.
A great point.
And he had to overcome that and still be great and do all those things. But I got to say this. I don't believe, Chris, I would have been able to play in Boston for people who hated me, who disrespected me, who made me feel unwelcome and unwanted. And I'm wearing Boston across my jersey. I'm winning for their emotions that they feel good. And I'm sure he won for himself, but you know what I mean. It made the city and the people who live there feel good. I don't think I would have been able to do it. I admire him that he didn't play there for a year or two and go, okay, I can't do this. I got to get out of town. That's why when you hear Kevin Durant and some of these other guys, Chris, ready to run out after something doesn't go right, shame on you.
Well, I said that, Rob, this morning on First
Did
Things
you?
First. And I didn't insult these current guys and gals, but I said it this way. We do have athletes who quit on a team, who want out of a city, who are afraid to play, who are afraid to address the media at events. And I don't want to belittle the mental issues that lead to some of those things, because I will admit, Rob, in this era of social media, of the 24-hour news cycle, and of the constant scrutiny that these athletes take on shows like this, radio shows, TV shows, the whole 9 yards, it can produce anxiety. There's no doubt about it. So it can make things tough at times. But that said, I would say to today's athletes, look to Bill Russell as an inspiration.
Okay.
Really. And look and say, my goodness. And that goes for Jackie Robinson and Muhammad Ali and any of the great African-American athletes really at that time, particularly the superstars. If they could play through what they did,
Yep.
how in the world can't you play through? And I like Kyrie. Kyrie took, a week off because of the insurrection on January 6th that he wasn't even involved in? And you just said it. Bill Russell played through people breaking into his house, spray painting racial slurs all over his walls, and defecating in his bed. And we can't play through some of the fears and challenges that we have? Come on. And again, I'm not even here to insult.
No,
I'm saying look at Bill Russell as inspiration to draw strength from, because we all face challenges, Rob. We all have days we don't want to go to work. We all have situations where we are afraid, we are insecure. And there's something called fortitude, and there's something called courage where you push through those things. And Bill Russell was as great an example as there has been in sports history for sure.
No, I agree. And especially in that town, Chris, and what he went through. And we already know, I chronicle it in the column. You can't just poo-poo this and go, well, those were the old days and that was kind of standard. And it's still going on, Chris. It still having incidents and situations. I'm not saying of that degree, but it's still going on there. We had Adam Jones with the Orioles. CeCe Sabathia played 17 years in the major leagues. Said he was never called the N-word, Chris, anywhere except Boston.
Here's what I'd say, though. Boston, and it was bad. I'm not trying to defend it at all. If he was going to play in America, he was going to play for a racist city. But Boston wasn't the only. It might have been the worst, at least in the North. But it wasn't the only place stuff like that was going on. There was worse stuff happening in the South. So I'm just saying that, especially at that time. I mean, LeBron James had somebody spray the N-word on his garage in L.A. a few years ago. So I just think he was not, as you kind of alluded to, he wasn't playing for the fans of Boston, I don't believe. He was playing for himself.
No,
I think he was also playing for African Americans of the future. Because you know what did the mess Jackie Robinson put up with, right. Hank Aaron put up with? Why did Jackie Robinson do it? Because of what it would do for the future African Americans. That's it.
No, I hear you, and that's a great point.
I'm sure he wanted to punch some people out, but he knew if he did that, it would
upset the apple cart.
Ruin it for other African Americans. Unfortunately, it shouldn't have been that way, but it would in the future. And I'm sure Bill Russell was like, man, if I run away, if I tuck tail, I can't take it, then what's that going to do for other black players coming after me?
See, here's my thing, is I couldn't give the people who hate me the pleasure.
You don't think they would have hated you in any other cities?
No, not.
It was America, 1960s.
I get that, but that town, Chris, has a long history, and I'm not making excuses.
The country does, though.
I do. I get that, but that city of Boston, to me, I've had my own issues there. I've had my own situations, personal, and I'm saying I just would have had a problem playing for that team. And that town, Boston, here's the other one. It ain't just the Celtics and the people. The Red Sox, Chris, had the last black player in the major league. Guess how many years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier that the Red Sox got their first black player?
Oh, I feel you.
12 years.
Right.
Is this on? So I'm just saying, Chris, 12 years.
But don't you think Bill Russell?
That was
and again,
by design. That was by
yes,
design.
Yes, it was. I'm not trying to defend the city of Boston at all. I'm just saying let's not act like it was the only overtly racist city at the time that Bill Russell was playing. There was a freaking unwritten rule in the NBA that you couldn't have more than 4 black players on the team. So maybe he should have left the league until y'all let everybody in. The best players regardless of skin color. I'm just saying if that's the approach. And so I don't look at it that way. Obviously I think what he did, Rob, in addition to wanting to make a statement and set a precedent for future African Americans, I think he looked at it like, you know what? I know Red Auerbach. I know Red Auerbach is a friend of mine. I know my white teammates. And I know Red Auerbach made me the first black coach in American sports history. I know Red Auerbach sent out the first all-black starting 5 in NBA history. So I'm just saying, I think those are the ways. I get where you're coming from, but Boston wasn't alone in its racism. It may have been worse, again, in the North, but it certainly wasn't the only place where mess like that was going on. And so I don't know where he could have went to play, and all the white people in that town, in that city, in those stands would have respected him or been pulling for him.
Yeah, I hear that, and it's all legit. I'm saying from my standpoint, it would have been harder for me, almost impossible, to for the treatment that he got. And I'm not saying that Jackie Robinson didn't get bad treatment. He played in Brooklyn, and it wasn't. I never got the sense, and I know there were teammates and players in the league and managers and all kinds of stuff. But even the people you're playing for actually or buying tickets to come to the place to treat you the way that they did, he had to be a remarkable man to be able to endure that and excel and do what he did. We lost a true, and that's why when I hear J.J. Redick and those guys try to belittle some of the players from the past and what they had to deal with, I know they never called out Bill Russell per se, Chris, but it was a different time, and I think guys had iron constitutions to be able to play and put up with what went on.
Absolutely. You
Right?
had to.
You had to.
All right. Bill Russell playing in Boston amid the racism. Could you have done it and thrived like he did?
All right, Chris, let's kick it off with MJ in Jefferson Parish in Louisiana. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, MJ?
Good afternoon. How you guys doing?
Doing
Good,
great.
man. How are you?
All right. Bill Russell is from West Monroe, Louisiana. A.k.a.
What part of Louisiana are you from?
I'm from the New Orleans area.
Okay.
I was born in California. But anyway, there's no way that I could have, know if I could have played under those circumstances. But we are talking about someone who was cut from a different script. I mean, he's talking about this guy was born February 12, 1934. So
right.
What he saw, his father, I remember reading about him. His father endured much more. So
right.
I can't.
That's why they moved to Oakland, California. That's why they moved. Right.
Right. Just like my parents moved from New Orleans to California, also Los Angeles. But what I'm saying is there's no way you can even fathom what he went through, what he used to become the greatest winner in sports. I can't fault the people that play today, mental health, different conditions that they go through. There's no way. I can't judge Osaka for not playing for mental health reasons or things that the Williams sisters went through. There's no way you can gauge that, but you have to have some type of understanding and grace because they still perform on the highest levels in their sport. I heard a story today that Wellborn was saying that when Medgar Evers died, Bill Russell reached out to his brother and asked what could he do. He set up a interracial basketball camp in Mississippi. So those types of things, the stories off the court and on the court, they're so different. There's no way we could gauge playing under that pressure, the hate, the racism, all of those things that this great, great, great player played under.
All right.
No way.
Thank you, MJ. Appreciate it. Tim, Chili Tim in Atlanta. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Tim?
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
How you?
What's up, man? How you doing, Nuke?
Good. Quick story. I'm the same age as you, Chris. I think we're both around 54, 53, 54 years
Chris
old.
is an old 53.
53.
Okay. Well, I just turned 54 about a week or so ago. But when I was 10 years old, I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. I saw the KKK march through the town at 10 years old.
Wow.
And so I heard things. I remember everything I heard that day. I remember some of the things I saw, the signs, and I never forgot it. Even to this day, it's just like I can still remember being there. And so I was thinking, if I can still remember that to this day, and I was at 10 years old, right? I can't even imagine what Bill Russell having to go through that every single day, day in and day out. Just
right.
The things that he had to endure, man. It had to be an incredible thing to do. And the thing that I love about him is that he carried himself with such dignity and the way he spoke in class and the way he did things. And I think he was just, the things he did in civil rights and how he spoke up and how guys like him and Jim Brown and Ali, how they led the forefront. And I think the things that he's done, I think, has really been undersold, and I think a lot of the young players and athletes have no idea who this man really was. He was just more than a basketball player.
You're 100%, 100%.
And I think, Tim, that's off the court and on the court.
Yep.
Yes, off the court.
Well,
and
that's
on
why
the court,
I'm always mad when they try to trivialize these guys, Chris. Like I do. I get it because you don't have videotape or you didn't see them play. That don't mean they didn't have impact or what they were doing at the time. I hate that. I hate it. Thanks, Tim.
A lot, Rob, would look at Bill Russell. Oh, he even 6'10". He might have been 6'9". Couldn't really shoot jumpers. He wouldn't have been any good today. Rob, Ben Wallace was a Hall of Famer at 6'7".
Exactly.
Recently.
And
Draymond Green's playing center right now at 6'6". Robert Williams III wreaked havoc on today's NBA. Don't tell me Bill Russell, who's one of the greatest athletes the league has seen, couldn't have been a superstar in today's NBA.
No doubt. James in California, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, James? James.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Hey,
yeah,
how are you? Go ahead.
So, hey, just calling in from California. I'm going to answer the question straight away. Could I have played for Boston? No. But I think the Boston talk is really important. And I just want to mention that growing up in the early 70s and being bused and being in magnet schools. Now, I could be wrong.
Were you in Boston?
No, I grew up in Connecticut, and I got bused in Stamford, Connecticut. And I think that Boston could be the last major metropolitan city to have integrated schools.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that in the 70s.
I remember that.
You might be right.
Yes, I remember that. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So I don't mean to call in with non-sports. I'm all over you guys, been fans for years. But if we're talking Boston, Boston's got a bit of a problem.
It has been a problem for a long time, James. Thanks for the call.
Yep.
And Chris, he's right. We talked about it. They pushed back for a long time. It was always a hotbed for racism in that town for a long time. Let's get one last guy in, squeeze him in. Will in Compton, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Will?
Hey, what's going on, Chris? What's going on, Rob?
How you? What's up, man?
Oh, absolutely great, guys. And just to highlight what you were kind of covering also in the article there, Rob, and what you guys are sharing. I think that finals that you were watching, Chris, is that the 1968 finals?
No, it was 63.
63.
63. Will was not out there.
Well, just a little over at 11 years later from that finals and having Bill Russell being representative of anything that we'll ever say of being an African-American athlete or athlete of color, whatever you want to call it, and having to play in that town. Within that time frame was when 74. was when they were desegregated there in Boston, and how Rob was highlighting the people that are, saying how they, had an appreciation of Bill Russell. These are the same people who were having to, at the older end, guys maybe a little bit older than y'all, who would have had kids, who would have been the guys pushing back against that. And so we can't forget that when we're definitely celebrating someone's life and what they had to fight without having to acknowledge that.
That's why if you do any kind of tribute and you don't mention what he had to endure, man, it ain't a real tribute to Bill Russell.
I wanted to ask
you can't
Rob,
whitewash it. You know what I mean? Like whitewash what he went through.
Were there, because it sounds like you were paying attention to what was being said in Boston. Radio, TV, articles.
It was all glowing.
Were there any acknowledgments of he went through this and that, and this city put him through hell?
Not really.
Like
not the stuff that I heard, but I'm sure there was some on the air. I can't sit here and act like all didn't, but it was just a lot of glowing. He's the best. He should have been in the GOAT conversation. After the fact, of course. When you look and the man's gone now, and you